we might be a little bit. Cyclone Mage. He brought the Alexstrasza, Caligos, Blizzard, Luna's Pocket Galaxy, having that late game power, which is unusual to say the least. And he's primary decking his Astromancer and Harrison Jones and Arcane Keysmith. This is something that Frozen was talking to you about, TJ.
Yep.
Are you convinced that this is a really good deck list in general, or is it just good for this pocket meta at Masters Tour Las Vegas?
Everything. And Dog has run into a few opponents here and there. I mean, 2 of his few losses in this tournament were to Hypno, who was playing Warrior, which was the deck.
So we'll see how best of 5 tilts the percentages either way, or will players start adapting in one way or another? So here we are, the grand finals of the Hearthstone Masters Tour of Las Vegas. Game number 1, Dog is on the coin, which is a good sign to start things off, given that he has Mountain Giant in the opening hand. And then for our Gallon's side, what's his best play here? Because Game 1 victory would give him a significant edge back in this matchup because his percentages improve with his tertiary deck. So if he can get a win with this, it'll be really important.
Yes, and it's fortunate for Gallon in some ways that it is a best of 5 because it means he can go to his tertiary deck for more games. But honestly, even with his tertiary deck, I still think he's unfavored overall. And the way that he does win is pretty similar to Cyclone Mage that we saw him defeat in the semifinals. It's about piling on pressure early. It's about getting in early damage before Dog can play his big threats and finishing the game with bombs. And he does have a decent bomb package, but there's a couple key things missing, at least in his primary deck, and that's Augmented Elic. That's a 3/4 that's hard for Dog to remove without Frostbolt. It also allows him to put extra bombs in the deck, which is that win condition later on in the game. He has to kill him, because I don't think he has the tools to stand up to just how many threats Dog can push out in the mid to late stages.
Yeah, I think Gallon's pressure here is really important. That Snip Snap. Getting that chip damage early on. One of the ways that we have seen just mages in general, yeah, Freeze Mage and Cyclone Mage, or even just the Summoner Dragon Mage, they all have one thing in common, is that they could still die to bombs and Blastmaster Boom.
Yeah.
So it's important for Dog to stall.
And he's got a great hand to do it. While this Doomsayer, it won't be answered. Well, actually, no, it won't be answered by Gallon. And Dog can roll Coin Luna's Pocket Galaxy with double Arcane Intellect in hand, which means every minion that he draws from that point on costs 1. The Mountain Giants and the Rabble Rouncers probably cost 0.
TJ, there is a weird law coming into a play here. I feel like when you have Luna's Pocket Galaxy, the turn before you play it, you have like a 90% chance to have Antonius in your hand or draw it next turn. It's so weird to me, man. But then, of course, Dog in the previous series was able to get a 1-mana Antonius. Yep. So it doesn't happen every time.
It doesn't happen every time.
But it feels like it happens so often.
Every minion in his deck just feels like it's exceptional at 1 mana. And now gets to draw. He's drawing 1-mana minions. There's a 0-mana Rabble Bouncer. Didn't pick up any other minions, but got another Arcane Intellect lined up next turn. A lot of big hits. Talking about Caligos, Astromancer, Alexstrasza. The second Mountain Giant will cost 0.
Yep. Dog thinking about if he wants to play this Rabble Bouncer. Playing Rabble Bouncer, he does allow his opponent's Acolyte to get more than 1 draw if he doesn't freeze it, and it does feel a little bit too wasteful to use a Ray of Frost on just an Acolyte of Pain. At the same time, the chip damage is fairly relevant. You know, Rabble Bouncer does win the board in terms of the stats, and you don't want Gallon to get free damage unnecessarily. So the ping here is something that I think he's definitely been guaranteeing himself, but it's whether or not he wants to play this Rabble Bouncer, so he ends up passing. Not to mention that Rabble Bouncer also, in the hand, discounts his other giant. Sorry, his first giant in the hand.
And also makes his future Astromancer stronger, or could give him another option for Contra's Calling. There's a lot of reasons to hold on to it there and not give Gallon an extra draw. But this is the name of the game for Gallon. It's about playing your minions and hitting him in the face. Because, like I said, Gallon, especially with 1 Brawl, just doesn't have the ability to fight for the late game. And 1 mana Caligos picked up.
Yeah.
Hey.
I mean, this is basically a Dalaran Heist deck at this point. It's like, oh, I could just play like an unstoppable amount of stupidly cheap combos and break my opponent. And Gallon, he doesn't even have an answer to this.
Nope.
This Polymorph is really nice to just remove the threat. And, I I mean, he has 5-man remaining with every spell being 0. This looks extremely dominant for Dog in this first game here.
Yeah, it is quite brutal. And I was talking to Gallon right before he went on stage when Dog was kind of finishing up his semifinal, and he said, TJ, I have a 5% chance to win this entire tournament. That's how bad he thought this matchup was against Dog.
Oh, I was about to ask, that high?
Yeah, that high? I'll give you 2 at most.
I mean, he can answer a giant, but he is stuck in a tough spot. You can see Gallon, even just his body language, just kind of hunched over, really trying to focus and think of a way out, but it doesn't seem like it's very clear how he's going to pull himself out of this situation.
Defend the gates.
Does have a shield slam to help at least clear the Caligos, but the giant still stays alive.
Yeah, the benefit of this is that he keeps a lot of his minions on board, so he keeps pushing through that chip damage. And Dog with this deck is not super interested in trading. Oh my!
I mean, Gallon made the read. There was no Conjurer's Calling because, I mean, Dog had a chance to Conjurer's Calling last turn. You had played Caligos, and you could have just played Mountain Giant Conjurer's Calling, but now sees it drawn off the top, and Dog is going in. Perfect symmetry on the Mountain Giant, the 2 Grave Horrors, and now this is a 3-turn lethal setup here from Dog.
Yep.
He does have Dr. Boom plus Shield Slam. That is a nice way for him to at least remove one of these threats.
Cool. You got one.
If he can get to turn 10, he might be able to pull out an Omega Devastator from the Omega Assembly.
That's true.
But can he survive to that point? He also gets Kaboom as his hero power. That's not going to help Gallon very much. Oh my goodness. A second Conjurer's Calling.
Yeah. And Dog, I mentioned earlier, 1 Brawl in the deck, 1 natural Omega Devastator. He's going into turn 9, so this is the least likely chance that Gallon will have to deal with Archmage Antonidas. We've seen Dog do this in so many games, is play Antonidas on 9, even if he's getting less value than he normally would off of it, but decides to deviate and goes with Arcane Intellect again. High value with Luna's Pocket Galaxy trucking away on these 1-mana minions.
I do like this from Dog. I think he's showing restraint and patience and not overextending. This Acolyte's a nice touch too, because if Gallon wants to squeeze in that nice little hero power to get value off of it, he draws a card for it. Another Omega Assembly. That is not helpful here. And in order for Gallon to clear the 7-8, he has the hero power and give Dog yet another card that could potentially ruin his day.
So his outs here are...
Oh, I apologize. He actually had the ability to just push with the Red Caliber.
Yeah, his outs are double Omega Assembly, both of them getting a Omega Devastator and trying to clean up the board there. Mm-hmm. There's 1 bomb in the deck now. That's it. Dog has drawn a lot of cards, and he's kind of low, 14. But let's say he gets Ice Barrier from this Arcane Keysmith that really gets rid of Gallon's chances to try and push damage, and he doesn't have the ability to fight for the late game, especially... Acolyte hasn't drawn cards. Omega Assemblies can pick up some things, but the threats that Dog's playing are just way bigger.
Yes, this Conjurer's Calling is enough for Dog to at least threaten the lethal. Gallon hasn't shown any big form of AoE, and he's already had difficulty clearing just 2 of these threats. He has the opportunity to also shut down the Wrench Caliber for an Acidic Swamp Ooze to stop Gallon from, say, having a Hail Mary bomb opportunity to close out the game, or at least reduce the chances of it. Ooh, that Ice Barrier that you were talking about. But he already has a taunt up.
Yeah, and Splitting Image with the Grave Horror limits the options for Gallon as far as how he wants to trade in. I'm honestly not sure because he's already seen, like, Militia Commanders. Oh, man. And
it's so funny. This Acolyte from Gallon has just not been able to draw a card.
Yeah.
He's just been constantly frozen. 2 Clockwork Goblins.
So there is a lethal out here for Gallon.
Yeah.
He's got 1 bomb in the deck, and he can play both Clockwork Goblins. He would die on the backswing, but he's going to evaluate here and see whether or not 3 bombs in a row, the only 3 bombs that he would put into Dog's deck, is his best chance of winning.
I mean, he could Omega Assembly one more time if he wants to go for double Clockwork Goblin and hero power. The other alternative is for him to try and fish for a Brawl.
But he
doesn't know what secret it is exactly.
Yeah.
He sees that it's not counterspell to stop the Omega Assembly. That's the important thing. He's going for the brawl opportunity.
He can still play both Clockwork Goblins.
Right, because it doesn't change the breakpoint from 11 to 14.
Brawl! Picks up the brawl!
Oh
Knows it's not counterspell.
The brawl! And any mini that survives doesn't mean that it means that Gallon survives. Is that his Acolyte? No, it's not. It's the 2/2.
Oh, man. Gallon stays alive just barely. He's got so much gas still left.
Wow, and that was a really ideal brawl, too, because Dog only has his weakest pressure. That's not the Acolyte of Pain. But Dog still has a lot of game left through the form of his Antonitis.
What to do? What to do?
Astromancer puts on a decent amount of pressure as well.
Would be a 5-drop from the first Astromancer here. So not super valuable. I mean, you can get crazy things like Leroy to try and end the game faster. Archmage Antonitis right now would only be one guaranteed fireball, and you just saw double Omega Assembly.
Spiteful Smith, I mean...
Those are reasonable stats.
Yeah, 4/6 makes it resilient against Warpath, which I think is convenient. It just takes away Gallon's options.
Yeah.
That said, Gallon doesn't have that many options left, so he might still be forced in a situation where he has to go for the bomb out. He only has one brawl in his primary deck.
Yep, he does have Warpath left, but Dog knows that all the cards in hand are the 6 mechs from the double Omega Assembly, so Gallon would have to top deck Warpath in order to make it happen, and picks up Harrison Jones, so just minions. And by the looks of it, there is no guaranteed way for Gallon to stay alive on board. His mechs all do have Rush, but he doesn't have the mana. He could play, go for a Security Rover play, but he only plays one mech alongside of it, so he can clear off the Annoy module, but he hasn't tested for Splitting Image at all yet.
Yeah, I think at this point, you recognize the Splitting Image still is just a problematic card, but the fundamental thing that he needs right now
Here we
is
go,
damage.
Dan. Here we go. Needs all 3 bombs in the deck to be drawn in a row.
Well, it looks like Gallon saw the first card being drawn from Dog, but in spectator mode, we didn't catch up. So Dog's going to take game number 1.
Similar list to Gallon, but had the Azalina Soul Thief, which was crucial in Hypnos victories. And even then, even Frozen, who prepared with Dog, they brought the same lineup, said that Dog was an 80% favor in that matchup. So this one has to be even worse. And Gallon, a decent start, has the Town Crier once. Snip Snap is great for trying to apply that early pressure. And Super Collider and Big Game Hunter will allow him to deal with those early Mountain Giants. And the coin for Gallon is not so much a big deal for him, but it's a big deal that he takes it away from Dog. Because even just having the coin as mage, it changes even your mulligan strategy, where you can be afforded the luxury of keeping Mountain Giants because you know you have the extra card in hand to be able to make that cheaper earlier on in the game. Both Big Game Hunters drawn, actually.
Yeah, which is, useful if your opponent plays the Giants. And Freeze Mage tends to be a lot more dependent on the Giants compared to the other Cyclone Mages, just because that's a primary threat that you try to generate.
Yeah.
Mana Cyclone is like an alternative way, and you can utilize Conjure Calling all these smaller minions like Banana Buffoon, Twilight Drake. Not really as conveniently accessible here for Dog. So Snip Snap again on curve. Just on turn 3 for Gallon to get any semblance of pressure. And that's where the Doomsayer in the previous game was really important. But, with Town Crier being drawn, Dog knows that if he goes for a Doomsayer ping on the 1/1, there's a very likely chance that Gallon is able to use Militia Commander that was drawn out to Town Crier to destroy that Doomsayer. So in order to deal with it, he'd have to find another way.
And unlike last game where he played the Doomsayer for a solid turn 5 setup with Luna's Pocket Galaxy, he does have the Mountain Giant to set that up, but it's tough to just play Mountain Giant by itself against Gallon because he does have the 2 Big Game Hunters. Now you can make the argument that, he also has Super Collider, but that's a 1 of versus the 2 of Big Game Hunter. And that's a big tempo loss, so Dog is going to set up this Doomsayer, but it will be answered by Militia Commander quite easily.
Right. I mean, he knows this is a likely possibility. There's 2 out of 3 minions that you could draw with the Town Crier that are going to kill off this Doomsayer. But I think he's ready for that possibility. Now, here comes another question. Is if he's going to just drop the Giant to try and get as much board presence as possible, that's also setting himself for disaster. Not only because of Big Game Hunter, because the threat of Dynamatic. So he's kind of back in the same situation as he was before, where there's no actual very good play to fight back for the board. He's going to have to let Gallon develop.
Ziliax onto the Snip Snap here.
You like the magnetic play?
I do like it. I mean, it's in line with the plays that Gallon was making last game.
What do you think about Wrench Caliber? Because what you do is you set it up, and then you're able to also push damage. I mean, I do like the Ziliax play. I just think that you can also use Ziliax reactively, too, and Wrench Caliber kind of sets up damage, too. But, again, Ziliax is more mana efficient, which does play a big factor.
Yeah, and Gallon has no way to capitalize on this Wrench Caliber right now. He doesn't have Blastmaster Boom in hand. He doesn't have Clockwork Goblins to kind of be aggressive.
That's fair.
He also has Super Collider. Now, it's likely that he won't need it next turn, so he'll get the 2 swings out from Wrench Caliber. But if he doesn't find anything that he wants to attack in next turn and has to Super Collider to override, he could find himself in an awkward spot. So now this is interesting.
Oh. He's using it as it's a rush effect, as opposed and it's lifesteal effect, but he's at full life. But he doesn't use his magnetic ability. What do you think about that?
So this is more vulnerable to Blizzard, but Dog does not have Blizzard in the tertiary deck.
He took it out.
So maybe a good recognition from that. Multiple attacks makes it hard for Mage, because while they can freeze 1 minion, Ray of Frost, very accessible and can freeze 1 minion. By presenting 2 minions, Dog would have to double Ray of Frost to stop taking damage. So I think that's the case for it. Well, he has 4 Ray of Frost in the deck. He only has 2 Frost Novas. So going wide on board.
Oh, man. Sorry to cut you off, TJ. That's a good draw here.
That is a very good draw.
I mean, his hand was lacking really good proactive plays, and Dr. Boom at Genius will turn not only his proactive plays to be even better, but also give him even stronger reactive plays, whatever Dog's able to set up. Gallon does hesitate, though. Doesn't want to just immediately have a knee-jerk reaction to the top of his to the top deck. But I'd be hard-pressed to find a better play this turn.
And also, Dr. Boom is even better with the way that Gallon's deck is constructed. Because he's going with the, I want to try and run you out of resources with my Big Game Hunters and my Super Collider and my Double Brawl. Dr. Boom lets him accrue resources over the course of the game that could allow him to deal with pretty much every threat that Dog plays. If he gets Delivery Drones, it gets a couple of Mega Devastators. If he gets like that, a large armor total with the Blast Shield, just being able to help fight for board with Zap and Microbots can be the difference maker when it comes to, I have a check to every last threat that you're going to play. So it's a crucial draw for a lot of reasons. And a lot of players will argue that Blastmaster Boom is just overall kind of better in the matchup. I would agree to an extent. But, like I said, Gallon has opted for no Augmented Alex. He's not all in on the pressure game plan.
Yeah, with no Conjurers calling, it still makes it tricky for Dog to set up the Giant turns. So if you can conserve those resources, the better. Dog's thinking, he's looking at his hand, and he has so much swing potential. He could like play Giants and Frost Nova, but he wants to set up that big turn that decisively locks out Gallon. So he's showing restraint right now, and I like it.
Yep.
He can take it slow. He's not getting too greedy either, because if he magnetizes onto the Snip Snap, it's 7 attack. That makes it vulnerable to a Big Game Hunter. And that's not something that you actually want, even though you're like, yeah, I have 2 Giants in the deck, or in the hand, rather. You give your opponent a way to utilize a tech card that's otherwise dead in their hand.
Yeah. And I like that you mentioned it. Like you said, there is argument to baiting out the Big Game Hunters before, but it also gives him, I think the biggest thing about that is, sure, the Big Game Hunter's gone, but then there's a 4-2 on board. That all of a sudden, even though you get the 1-1 from Snip Snap, there's Microbots on the other side. He could BGH to Microbots, clean up your 1-1s, and then the Giant that you play may not even need to be answered by a Big Game Hunter. So it's about forcing him to have it once you do play a threat big enough and making the turns awkward for Gallon.
Yep. Big Game Hunter is a lot better for Dog if he's ahead on the board versus if they're kind of even, because it seems like they've been kind of jockeying for position back and forth, and it just swings dramatically in tempo the other direction for Gallon. Even if it's only a couple turns, that might be the turns that Gallon needs to push damage and end the game. Okay, Gallon's going to utilize his Warpath in this position. No attacks.
I love the no attacks. Gallon recognizes that having more attacks on board makes it harder for Dog to stop the incoming damage. Also, just if he trades in here, there would be 4 microbots that come out from Dog Snip Snaps, since it's 2 Snip Snaps on top of each other.
Right. It's the same amount of power on board if he destroys it versus keeps it on board. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Very clever move here.
Interestingly enough, Cenarius is good because it can be BGH'd out of all the 9 drops that you could get.
It's resilient against Super Collider as well.
Yeah. Because it weighted more towards health than it is towards attack. I mean, there's obviously better 9 drops, I believe, but this one makes it kind of awkward for Gallon, at least with the way his hand is.
Yep. I mean, Gallon has the opportunity to also go in soon. He does have Wrench Caliber, and he has 5 damage on board, so that'd be 8. That put Dog at a point breakpoint. Every multiple of 5 is good. But if he gets a little bit too uppity, I think Dog is going to completely punish him with Frost Nova plays, so he's going to clear the board a little bit here. Kind of wonder if Gallon is happy to get Blast Shield versus something that's more board impactful.
Well, it gives you that buffer. That health buffer can be important, like for finding that one brawl that you need. Having the 7 extra health means you can take one more attack from a giant, for instance.
Right.
Need a key?
The Keysmith finds Counterspell, Ice Barrier, and Splitting Image. Ice Barrier being a card that stops Gallon's aggression, or not stops, but slows down the aggression.
Yep.
And Harrison on the Super Collider, a very nice, impactful card has just been taken away from Gallon.
Yep, Dog will overdraw a card going into his next turn, but he was willing to take that risk to make sure that Gallon could not get additional value from the Super Collider. There haven't been any bombs shuffled in the deck, I don't believe, so a lot of times against Bomb Warrior, there's some cute plays that you can make by filling up your hand to try and discard bombs in the later stages of the game. Because if you draw them with a full hand, it effectively diffuses them. You don't get your draw for the turn, obviously.
Man, there's a lot of microbots here fighting.
The bomb shuffles here are risky, though, for the reasons I just mentioned. I wonder if he does attack with Wrench Caliber. He does, so he shuffles 2 bombs in. So if Dog discards a bomb here, that could be really important.
My hand is too full.
It's the ooze.
That's exactly what Gallon wants to see.
Yeah, to stop him from playing another bomb into the deck.
Yep.
And now Dog, I mean, he still has some really good plays here. Caligos, a beefy boy, 10 mana, 4/12, very hard to kill, but discovering a spell and making it cost 0, still a very impactful card. And maybe even having that Conjurer's Calling that Dog's been sorely missing. Luda's Pocket Galaxy is for free, but
he's running out of minions.
He's running out of minions, and more importantly, he's running out of time and health. Dog's at, what, 16 life?
Yeah. 15. No, because he swung with the 16. So he has Alexstrasza.
Oh man.
Deranged Doctor.
Okay, I'll take that.
An Astromancer, I believe.
Yep.
And I think that might be it.
Maybe Khadgar?
Maybe Khadgar and the second Acolyte of Pain, which aren't that high value, but a 1-mana Alexstrasza and a 1-mana Deranged Doctor are very good. Yeah. And he is going to go with it. It's a risk.
It's a risk, but I think Dog has to play into that because Dog isn't playing a traditional Freeze Mage. He has so many minions. People who hear Freeze Mage in Hearthstone think about, the fireballs and the ice lances and all that stuff. We don't have any of that shenanigans. Dog has to use minions to win, and that's why Conjurer's Calling is such an important card. But Dog doesn't have it right now.
Gallon picks up Blastmaster Boom.
Oh boy.
And he's going to have a fully loaded Blastmaster Boom because he has exactly 3 bombs in the deck.
Yep.
So this could be Dog in a lot of trouble.
He's trying to go for lethal even right now, clearing the board as much as he can. If the Boombots can all go face. That's 2. Looks like Halagos takes one for the team. Dog finds Khadgar, still no Conjures. He has Frostbolt on the far left.
It looks like he wants to go for Arcane Intellect here.
If he finds Conjurer's Calling, he does have enough mana to go for Mountain Giant, Conjurer's Calling, and Mountain Giant.
Yeah, it would be exact mana. He could also pick up Deranged Doctor in Conjurer's Calling. He could also pick up 2 bombs and die.
That's right. It's unlikely, but it's possible. Acolyte. That's not what he wants. Astromancer. I mean, he can summon 2 minions, 2 8-cost minions with Khadgar.
Yeah. I mean, that seems pretty good to me.
Yeah, I'll take it, I guess.
You could get Deranged Doctors out of those 8.
This is a 9-drop if he plays Astromancer just by itself.
Time runs out on me.
I think...
My calculations are flawless.
Shutterwalk. So I think Dog recognizes that he needs Khadgar plus Mountain Giant and Conjurers to end the game. So he's not going to go for the double 8, instead opts for a 9. 9 is very inconsistent. Dog goes for Hero Power on the Boombot, trying to see if he can absorb damage on his minions. That's a good outcome.
Very good outcome.
Can Gallon close the gap here? He's so close to his goal.
I mean, he could go for Microbots and attack all 3 into Acolyte Pain.
Oh boy, you're right. The Acolyte could work against Dog if Gallon forces him to draw up to 4 cards by this next turn.
He could also just pick apart this board. He's got Spark Drill, Faithful Lumi, and Microbots, plus the rush minions that he gets from Spark Drill.
Yes.
So, honestly, I think Gallon realizes that he has the late game in the bag, and there's maybe not really a point for him to take the risk and maybe give Dog the key cards that he was trying to draw into last turn.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
It's not a resource battle. It's a time issue.
Oh, jeez.
King Keysmith.
He also could force Dog to overdraw one of the key cards that he's been searching for.
Yeah. Also, if Dog's at full cards...
This could be a bomb also.
What if it's a bomb? Luna's Pocket Galaxy doesn't need that. 1 damage to face. That's not what Gallon wants.
But he's going to discard another card. Still
it's not the bombs.
Oh, jeez.
Okay, but he finally has Khadgar and Conjurer's Calling. The terms have been set.
And Dog has a 1-mana Alexstrasza and 1-mana Deranged Doctor still in the deck with the 3 bombs. So it's whether or not he can dodge the bombs long enough to draw those 2 things.
Can he find the Doctor?
This whole matchup's just a battle of doctors.
Yeah, Dog.
They're not even real doctors. You know, Dog could have been a doctor.
Yes, or as our producer keeps making the very bad pun, he could have been a dog-ter. And they elbow us like 5 times, like, I could cast too, right, guys? Like, yes, Mike, you could cast.
We must band together.
Here we go. Conjurer's Calling wants to land at least 1 Grave Horror. He gets at least 2. Arcane Keysmith could be important to shut down brawl opportunities.
Yeah, I could get a counterspell here. Ice Barrier.
Yeah, Ice Barrier would be nice. And all of a sudden, Gallon's staring at infinity damage. But he can manage a lot of it through his double Big Game Hunter. He's at 29. If he kills both the Mountain Giants, it's 14, 18, 19 damage showing. So he'd still be safe unless his opponent somehow miraculously finds a Pyroblast.
Which he could from Arcane Dynamo. So
right.
there's
he couldn't play it.
He couldn't play it, that's right.
Yeah.
And there's also, Gallon knows the second half of Conjurer's Calling is in the hand, though.
And he knows that there's no counter spell. And so he finds the brawl. This is exactly what Gallon needed.
And he's going to fully hedge for this brawl, throw in all of his 1-mana minions.
Dog with a deep breath. I mean, it's not over yet. If one of the big minions from Dog survives, he still has good opportunity to pressure. But if Gallon wins...
A 1-1.
Oh, no.
And there's 3 bombs in Dog's deck. He touches it again, but no Alexstrasza.
Okay, I don't know
no
how...
Deranged Doctor.
I don't know how he keeps dodging this.
So the half of his deck right now is bombs. He had 2 swings from Wrench Caliber and 1 Clockwork Goblin. Hasn't drawn a bomb, hasn't discarded a bomb.
I mean, he knows that Gallon is probably holding big game hunters by now, too, because he's been holding these 2 cards on his far left since the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
So I think if Dog plays Giant here, he's walking into that trap. A Pyroblast!
I don't
the
know.
prophecy came true. It's just it was too late.
He's going to go for it. And Conjure's calling on 6 drops. Quite a few taunts in the pool. Eccentric Scribe is okay. Just because it dodges Big Game Hunter.
Right.
And it also has means that the 4, I don't know, books. Scrolls.
Yeah, I
Same
think,
thing depending on what era you lived in.
It's Death Rattle summons it. Oh, he attacks! He gives life to Dog. That's a big deal. Now he's at 16. That's an important break point. Some life was breathed into Dog.
But he also... You'll instantly like point at that and say, oh, that could have been a mistake. But he knows that Dog has Alexstrasza and has Deranged Doctor still in deck. So it's not like he's all in. And from all he knows, Dog could have those in hand. Okay, 1 bomb.
Oh, man.
If this is a second bomb, if he had an attack!
If he had an attack. But there's still another chance, TJ! Deranged Doctor off the top!
If he hadn't attacked...
911 has arrived on the scene, TJ!
I would not want Deranged Doctor to attend to my wounds. I'll tell you that.
I'll take it! Emergency first aid. On call.
The red one tastes like cherries.
8 health restored. Finds Gilnean Royal Guard, and Dog can fight back and remove everything while holding on to his resources. And somehow, Dog is not only a master at Hearthstone, he's also really good at Minesweeper. 2 more rush minions. Batterhead and life stealing on the Walking Fountain. He's going to restore so much life through this.
And the crazy thing about this is every single minion that he's gotten from Conjure's Calling, except for the 1 Mountain Giant where he forced the brawl, has dodged Big Game Hunter.
TJ, not only are these Big Game Hunters useless, Gallon has no path to victory anymore.
His path to victory is fatigue. His path to victory is kill everything that Dog plays. He has 1 brawl still left in the deck, I believe. That's why Dog traded in his 1/1s last turn, because he wanted to play around that second brawl. Wanted to ensure that one of these big minions lived. And Gallon does have 33 life.
Not really. He's got an Alexstrasza that's coming down. That's 13 damage dealt, 8 more to the face. Gallon is staring at his last turn. There's a Pyroblast and a Frostbolt. I mean, Dog can just throw in damage right here.
Yeah, it doesn't need a Ray of Frost because the Fellord Betrug, the minions do die at the end of the turn. They get rushed, but they die at the end of the turn. So no point in using a Ray of Frost since this Alexstrasza is biting the dust.
Gallon has to be wondering, what if I didn't attack? We know the answer to that question. You got to stop asking yourself that.
And he even sets up for the Pyroblast lethal with the Frostbolt to face.
Yes,
so
I like it.
Gallon has to remove the board and gain life. He doesn't have Blast Shield. Even if he draws Brawl here, he has no way to stop the damage from coming in. And he doesn't even have a way to stop this damage from coming in. He can Big Game Hunter 1 target, and that's it.
He can't even lethal himself.
Yeah.
That's a concede. Dog is on tournament point, up 2-0 over Gallon's Warrior.
And, I mean, Dog usually pretty emotionless, but a slight smile. The only other time I've seen him smile so far in this tournament is the split second before he's about to play Deranged Doctor.
1 game at a time. We're going to go into game number 3. Dog starts out with Mountain Giant as opening hand here. Dr. Boom Mad Genius in Gallon's opening hand here.
He's going to keep it.
Yeah, I think he recognizes that that's a really important card, given that, I mean, armoring up is great and all, but Dr. Boom Mad Genius gives you actual ways to grab the board back, not just through its battle cry, but through the hero power value.
Okay,
And that's a good-looking opening hand here for Dog so far. He's got Conjurer's Calling and 2 Mountain Giants.
And I was about to say, the only thing he's missing is card draw. Picks up an Acolyte of Pain. Probably rather see that be Arcane Intellect, but still.
Job done.
Gallon finding answers, though. He's got 1 Brawl already. He's got Shield Slam and Big Game Hunter, so he's going to be able to deal with the first couple threats. The problem is, without getting early damage in, he just doesn't have the reach with bombs because he doesn't have Augmented Elec. His maximum amount of bomb shuffles without a Mega Assembly factored in is 6. 2 Clockwork Goblins, 2 Ram's Calibers. That is 30 damage, Dan. But there's a lot of other factors that play into it. The order that they're drawn, the Ziliax, the Deranged Doctor, the Alexstrasza, all the healing packed into this deck.
It's true. You're going to need a lot more. Mega Assembly or Dr. Boom's Delivery Drone could pick up more bombs that could be planted in through the Clockwork Goblin. Dog has 2 Giants. He's looking at his hand. How do I plan it out? And am I going to wait for Khadgar, or am I going to go for Mountain Giant Conjuring? It's something that he was thinking about, too, because if he didn't shut down this Wrench Caliber, he did have the option of waiting to go for Mountain Giant Coin Conjurer's Calling. But Gallon could also respond with Super Collider. So he plays this Coin Harrison Jones, says, you know what, I'm just going to take it a little bit slower. And I think that's perfectly fine in this situation, given that Gallon's not presenting any threat. Like, Gallon not having any 3-drops or anything to play proactively is just playing exactly into Dog's hand. This is what he wants to happen.
And it's given him just so much time. You've been able to utilize the coin to play Harrison Jones.
Right.
Delaying his Mountain Giants, which Dog's fine to do so, because Gallon's just not really doing anything.
Right. Is this because Gallon chose to keep things like Dr. Boom Mad Genius, and as a result, decreased his chances of having any proactive play? I mean, you heard Purple from the America's Grandmasters. He was talking about how you don't keep Dr. Boom in any matchup except potentially against Hunter.
Yeah.
I don't know if he necessarily had Dog's Freeze Mage in mind, but at the same time, I feel like, you know, you got to at least think about it more.
It's kind of a bold statement to make, but maybe he's right. I don't know.
I mean,
Purple said crazier things in the past. Yeah,
he could be trolling us.
He's trolled us in the past before.
Oh, this is cool. Conjurer's Calling on the Ziliax because he doesn't want to get Big Game Hunter.
Okay.
So he never even intended to use Conjurer's Calling on the Mountain Giant in the beginning. Finds 2 Darius Crowleys.
Those can be very threatening, and the important part about this for Gallon or for Dog is that Gallon doesn't have access to 8 mana, which means he can't quadruple Warpath this board.
Yeah, but he can wait.
He can wait.
Yeah, and you know, it's not like Dog's board can get much scarier. So if he does play Dr. Boom Mad Genius, he goes up to 44 life, and he's accepting 18 damage on the backswing.
Well, the problem is these Darius Crowleys can grow. So Dog could find a way to trade over the Snip Snap and get these Darius Crowleys over some 1/1s, which will bring them up to 6/5, which would put it out of range of Warpath again. Now, it's a lot of missed damage from Dog if he goes for that kind of play, but it is something that kind of has to weigh into your mind. Honestly, though, it doesn't really seem like he has any other options. He doesn't want to brawl this because there's not too many resources invested. And getting Dr. Boom online now means that if he brawls next turn, and Dog freezes the Snip Snap again, it means that the Snip Snap's going to summon the Microbots, which will have Rush because of Dr. Boom, which can maybe clean up whatever survives the brawl from Dog's side.
I think the problem is that Gallon's hand is all reactive cards. If he had something that's better to fight back for the board, like Dynamatics and Militia Commander, he probably could justify using the Brawl there, because then his opponent will only be playing like 1 Giant and then Conjurer's Calling, and maybe he could answer it, but it's difficult because in this position, Gallon knows he's going to take a lot of damage, and he's letting Dog control the state of the board. And now Dog's thinking, how do I continue to press in without overextending? His first instinct was Arcane Keysmith to disrupt Gallon's turn by potentially getting Counterspell. That would be a massive pickup for Dog. Does not find it. Finds the other half of the secrets. Does find Spellbender, which might be just as good because it messes with Gallon's head. And he does choose it looks like. Spellbender is very annoying for your opponent to figure out because they have to test everything else, and usually it doesn't get triggered very conveniently.
Yeah, Slam and Shield Slam are in fact the only two tests that Gallon has for it.
Right.
And like you said, it's hard to get everything else out of the way.
Yeah, it was a card that was highlighted to us a lot by Viper and Bunny Hopper as Dog picks up a bomb here. Viper and Bunny Hopper were talking a lot about Arcane Q-Smith and any kind of defensive mage deck and how it's just a really important utility card because it's something that you can't prepare for. In a tournament environment, you have open deck lists, so you know everything 30 for 30 cards, but Arcane Q-Smiths add really powerful effects that sometimes disrupt your opponent to the point where it's really important situationally, and also sometimes it just saves your butt, as you can see with Dog getting the ice barrier.
Yeah.
Of course, the sacrifice is you don't have like a universally good tempo minion like Twilight Drake.
Yeah. Gallon was thinking about testing for a splitting image there.
Right.
It would kill his Snip Snap if he did it, even into a 2-attack minion.
Yeah, he rips the Warpath because he can't afford to play around the counterspell. I think he recognizes that he's too far behind if he plays something else to try and bait it out first. And I respect that. And now with Dog seeing the Warpath, he's going for it. He Conjures Calling. Gets 2 Grave Horrors. The Permafrost on the Snip Snap, which is why Magnetizing seems to be less than desirable.
Yeah.
And this is also the turn before Mega Devastator. This is well timed by Dog.
Yeah. He's usually the second Conjurer's Calling, though, and Gallon does have Big Game Hunter to answer this and can roll into a Mega Devastator. Problem is he's taking a lot of damage. There's the Splitting Image test.
Yep.
I think if it was Splitting Image, maybe you see a Brawl in that position.
Yes, I 100% agree. So then Gallon's like, okay, no Mirror Image with this Crown Tire? Crown Tire?
Yeah, the Crown Tire.
Sounds like a really terrible job to have.
Did
Witchwood.
Did Dan get a new tire sponsor that I'm not aware of?
The Master Store, brought to you by Michelin.
Their new Crown tires.
I don't know how I fell into this job career, dude. Dog picks up Astromancer. He has almost all of his big, heavy minions from... so his Luna's Pocket Galaxy is not nearly as impactful, but still has a few of them that are really core into his deck, like Alexstrasza that we mentioned. I wonder if Dog is entertaining the idea of just tempoing through playing a minion and Frost Nova. He can play Giant and Frost Nova, and like his opponent already played 1 Big Game Hunter, hasn't shown a Super Collider. Because if he does, I mean, he has potential to set up a lethal opportunity, maybe.
I don't know if you can rule out Super Collider, because the attack last turn to test for Splitting Image allowed Gallon to have Brawl. And if you Super Collider an attack and it's Splitting Image, then you don't have enough mana to fend off the last threat.
Yeah, Super Collider here actually would work against Gallon because he would take 7 damage, go down to 12. So Dog knows that even if he did have Super Collider, he'd be setting himself up for a lethal.
Yep.
This was pretty clever, but the Omega Devastator Ziliax is exactly what the doctor ordered. And that is going to clear out everything. Gallon's back in it, and he is dominating the board. Dog lost 2 of his most powerful tools, which is Giant Minion and Antonitis. Alexstrasza just picked up as well.
Yeah, and better yet for Gallon, he's eliminated every secret but Spellbender, I believe, with those 2 attacks to face. Which means that he can operate with a little more confidence now in his plays, knowing that he has it narrowed down.
Lucid Bark.
Oh.
Well, that synergizes with the Doctor really well.
He just moused over it, too.
Yeah. I mean, Lucid Bark can come back if you play the Deranged Doctor. It doesn't work with Alexstrasza, though, I believe.
No, because it's a set someone to 15, not a heal or damage someone to 15.
Swinging back and forth. Gallon has the opportunity to discover a mech, see if he can strike back that way. He doesn't have a clear enough board for Blastmaster Boom, but he can kill off this Lucent Bark with the form of Militia Commander and a 3 damage source here.
He's got to be worried about Alexstrasza.
Yeah, maybe that's why one of these armor minions is something that he's considering.
Somebody order a bomb.
He doesn't want to take damage necessarily. Just using his resource to clear it off. No weapon for Dog to remove. What can he do in this spot here?
Well, if he takes out Omega Devastator with, say, like Fireball Ping, there's 6, 7, 8, 9, 13 damage staring at him on board. So he's not dead if he does that. I can't find any other play that just keeps him alive through board. Because if he leaves Omega Devastator up and doesn't kill anything else, he can double Fireball here to try and protect the board. This reduces the amount of mechs that come out from Snip Snap.
It's a full board, so it's trickier for Gallon to develop stuff or even get benefit off his death rattle, so he can trade it in here. It's just on the defense plan, but we've seen Dog in position like this several times throughout the tournament, and it's usually a losing one. Can he turn it around with his arena deckhand? I don't understand. Usually Arcane Dynamo and Deranged Doctors what you go up against, and you're like, what, the 5th Flame Strike?
If I had Luna's Pocket Galaxy in Arena deck, I'd be one happy camper.
Yeah? I don't know. I feel like Arena is so tempo-driven that you can't afford to play Luna's Pocket Galaxy.
Yeah, I think you're right. I would be one mediumly mooted camper.
Yeah, I'd have to consult the Lightforge tier list in order to get appropriate reading. I really trust Edwaka and those guys. 7 health. Dog draws Arcane Intellect. So, looks like Dog's best defensive position here is to Alexstrasza himself. Gallon's sitting upright, recognizing that he's in a pretty likely spot to take this game, despite things looking good for Dog in the early game.
Yeah, defensive Alexstrasza forced out here. I mean, there's 10 damage just showing on board.
Yeah.
Gallon can maybe go for like a Blastmaster Boom, but I honestly think he's not really even pressured to do so. If he can put Dog, give himself a 1-bomb out for lethal against Dog, he's going to do that more so than relying on boom bots to try and end the game.
Right. And he does have double Dynamatic and his hero power to make sure that Alexstrasza dies.
He can actually go Warpath and then Blastmaster Boom and trade.
Oh, this is clever. I like it. Yeah, this is really smart. Because Gallon says, why wait for the possibility of the bombs being drawn? I'm going to go for Boombot lethal.
Can end the game right now. If a few of these Boombots go face for just average damage that's fully loaded.
Yeah, Dog's ready. He's prepared for it. Looks like Alexstrasza goes down with the ship. But a bomb gets drawn. And Dog should be out of this game. He held on, but I think that the tempo swings from the Dr. Boom Mad Genius was too much to handle, which is starting to show why it's important for Gallon that Gallon kept that card in his opening mulligan.
Yeah.
I mean, Dog has lethal. He just trying to find if there's a way for him to lethal Gallon instead of himself here.
Frostnova can buy him a turn.
Yeah. Frost Nova, but then what does he play afterwards?
Yeah, if he plays Doomsayer, everything dies, and he takes the damage from the bomb, so that's not really an option.
Yeah, he didn't even have mana to play the Giant. Doing everything he can. But with this, I believe Brawl is a guaranteed lethal from Gallon, and that's going to do it. Gallon strikes back in Game 3, finally getting a point on the board. And that's what you kind of want to see. You don't want to see a clean sweep 3-0. You want it to be contested back and forth, and then whoever you're rooting for takes it at the very end.
Yeah, and Gallon wasn't looking great at the beginning of that game.
For like a really 200 IQ type of play, you can go for that to play around Warpath.
Yeah. But it plays around one card,
right,
and you sacrifice how much damage to get there.
Yeah.
12 damage
it's too much.
Removal from your hand.
Exactly.
It's way too much. So I agree with Dog's lines. And Dog's not on coin, and a very lackluster hand. I guess before that Mountain Giant's drawn, but still a long ways off from being able to be played. And Gallon has Wrench Caliber, which I think is one of the most important cards in this matchup.
Yep. This is already a gut check moment here for Gallon because he has French Caliber, which implies that his hand can be aggressive. So if he Mega Assemblies for 1, he's trying to look for a curve. He finds it through the Nightmare Amalgam.
Ooh.
That's really important because now Gallon can piece together an aggressive game plan.
Yep.
And Dog, in the meantime, he has a very reactive hand. And it's about time that Dog had like a hand where he didn't really have like much to do. It felt like he had like the Mountain Giants and the Luna's Pocket Galaxy early on. But now we'll see a game where maybe Dog doesn't get anything really going, and maybe he's the one that's like passing and not having the proactive like Khadgar, Conjur's calling on a Ziliax, or just the Mountain Giants early on. But at the same time, maybe that plays directly into what Dog wants because he has to react to what Gallon's playing anyways.
Yep.
That's a really good draw here. I mean, Gallon's drawing the nuts right now because he even has a Super Collider to react to an early Mountain Giant Conjur's Calling setup.
Yeah, not that it would even come out, but because of just how little he has in his hand, and Gallon not wanting to give Dog extra card draw, so instead of playing this Nightmare Amalgam that he chose to play on curve, he's going to go with Wrench Caliber instead.
Yeah. Dog's hand could improve dramatically if he picks up one card. Luna's Pocket Galaxy, because he's drawn almost all of his spells. Wait.
Wait.
We're about to test the Luna's Pocket Galaxy Archmage Antonitis theory.
If he draws it this turn, then I have another conspiracy theory to add to my list.
It's probably not going to happen.
You say that.
But Gallon's going to be able to shuffle a second bomb now into Dog's deck. It's an Arcane Keysmith. Dog gets all of his big minions, and that is bad news. All of a sudden, a hand that was looking awkward and even bad for Dog might end up turning into be a blessing in disguise because he's drawn a lot of spells and a lot of non-impact minions.
Dan, Mountain Giant, Caligos, Alexstrasza, 2 Astromancers,
Antonitis.
Arcane Antonitis, Arcane Dynamo, Ziliax, 1 cost.
But he has a full cost Range Doctor.
But he has a full cost Range Doctor.
Yep.
Useless Pocket Galaxy.
Yeah. So then Gallon sees this and says, okay, I'm not going to win the late game. Should I go with that game 1 plan, magnetize onto the Nightmare Amalgam and pressure? This is a lot to handle. Dog does have the Ray of Frost bomb drawn. That's a good thing if Gallon doesn't have Blastmaster. Another Arcane Keysmith.
Cool. So I think Ray of Frost comes out here. The question is for Dog, does he risk the Mountain Giant? There was so many kind of dead turns from Gallon. Well, not so many dead turns from Gallon. I guess he played Nightmare Amalgam and Ziliax, but it was from a Mega Assembly. So the Mega Assembly on turn 1, I think, gives Dog kind of the nod that Gallon was searching for something proactive to play.
Right, because he has an aggressive hand.
Now, if he picks up Splitting Image here, there is a chance that he plays Mountain Giant. Oh, no, he can't anymore because he played the Keysmith. Yeah. So now it's second Keysmith.
Looks like he picks up Ice Bear to try to gain some life. That does offset a little bit of damage done by the Amalgam.
But he's stranding the Giant because he's playing cards from hand.
Vaporize. Okay, that's big. Because Gallon is so tempted to just keep pressuring. He has like Super Collider push damage. But, I mean, he also has Counterspell. Counterspell is really disruptive. He does end up going for that. And I think that's ultimately smart because Gallon does have ways to play around that. The Vaporize if he really wanted to.
Yep.
This being one of them. You can't answer Snip Stab and Vaporize. A second bomb drawn! There's 2 bombs in the deck, and Dog's drawn both of them within 4 cards of each other.
So normally you wouldn't want that because you want the bombs to be later in the game so Blastmaster Boom has an effect. But at this point, Gallon, because of the Luna's Pocket Galaxy, knows that he needs to end the game quicker. So that's actually a good thing because it forces Dog to kind of play defensively and may force Dog to play, make plays that he wouldn't otherwise play if he had more health and more time.
Oh, man. Dog taking a second, retreating to his Mind Temple. But it's a tough spot because he has opportunities to extend very aggressively onto the board with his Mountain Giant. He can Conjur's Calling freeze a minion with the Ray of Frost. I like this play.
And this is
2 Grave Horrors.
Gets 2 Grave Horrors, and importantly, puts the Mountain Giant in the middle. But he trades in the minion. The Mountain Giant in the middle with both Arcane Keysmiths on the other side played around Super Collider almost perfectly because no matter what he Super Colliders, it has a chance to go into a 2-2.
Right.
The trade into the Nightmare Amalgam kind of ruins that. But hey, nice positioning otherwise.
Down answers the Grave Horrors. That's just 1 Conjure's Calling. Does he push the damage or does he trade in here? He sees that it's not Splitting Image. So 1 Secret Diffuse. He also saw no Mirror Entity with the Snip Snap. So to him, it's Counterspell, Spellbender, or something related to attacking the face, like Vaporize and Ice Barrier. Snip Snap for 1.
Not too helpful because the echoed card from Snip Snap will still be full cost at 3.
Frost Nova to collect fireballs. Can even just use 1 right here.
Yep.
And just destroy a little bit of the board. I mean, Dog doesn't necessarily need the Antonites to just close the game. And Gallon does have ways to deal with it. Can shield slam this, but he has to be careful because the layers of secrets that's involved in this process. So he shield blocks first, which is going to get counterspelled, and they can shield block again and shield slam the Antonitis.
But he doesn't check for Spellbender at all.
You're right.
Because I don't think he's attacked face, so he...
Oh, you're right.
So he doesn't have the second secret down to Ice Barrier and Vaporize.
Yeah.
This could be Counterspell and Spellbender, and if that's the case, if Gallon expends this mana to go for shield block, it gets Counterspell. Does he take the risk and go for a second shield block plus shield slam, or does he just spell break it to guarantee that Dog doesn't get any more fireballs?
Yeah, Spellbreaker on the opponent's Antonitis is the most guaranteed play because you know that it's no mirror entity or anything related to minion summoning. It's the safest play. The highest upside play is what we already know, which is that Dog has Counterspell. Oh, he sees that it's Counterspell. So it looks like he's going to go for the Spellbreaker then.
Yeah, he has to. I don't think he can.
Is he? He's just going to leave the Antonitis up.
He's going to try and go wide and say, I don't care about your fireballs. I'm going to try and
kill him.
Try and kill him.
I mean, but there's 2 bombs have been drawn. He's going to shuffle 1 bomb in. Alex Straza's picked up.
So Alex Straza plus 12, 17. Oh my goodness. He can play Alex Straza and double fireball in the same turn. So he could set him to 15 and then deal 17 points of damage.
And he still has a Frost Nova on the left side of his hand. I totally forgot about that card.
So he could go Antonitis, Fireball, and Frost Nova.
Even setting up a Snip Snap.
He could throw in a Snip Snap.
I mean, it just makes him more resilient against Brawl. But what does Dog want to do with his remaining mana here? I absolutely think Frost Nova is more than called for to stop his aggression. Gallon hunched over his desk.
He's on his last legs here.
And that Antonitis punishing Gallon here in this spot. Dynamatic is drawn.
So he needs to shield block into exactly Brawl. But then he still dies because... No, the 2 minions that summon from Snip Snap.
No!
Omega Devastator 1 mana off. I don't think it would have even mattered. He needed exactly Brawl.
The Snip Snap was so good for the positioning as well. There's no out here for Gallon. He concedes. We have a champion for our first ever Masters Tour. It is Team Liquid's Dog from the United States of America.
Taking a risk, bringing a very unique deck to the tournament, Minion Freeze Mage. Said he expected Warriors, defeated them all throughout.
Dog, you conquered a field of 287 players. And coming into this one, there's a lot of rounds that are in place for it. At what point did you look up in this tournament and go, wow, I can actually win this thing?
Whenever I went like 8-0, I didn't have much faith in my deck initially, but I was like destroying everyone because I kept playing against Warriors. So once I went 8-0, I was like, I have like a shot at top 8. And then from there, I didn't really expect to win it, but top 8 was pretty good. And then I kind of just like wrote it, I guess.
And so you've been a well-known streamer and a well-known competitor throughout a number of years at this point, but I feel like this one has to be exceptional for you. You finally have conquered the field and taken a milestone like this. What does it mean for you in your career?
I mean, validation. I get a lot of flack because I'm a big streamer, so people don't really think I'm good at the game. They're just like, yeah, they think I'm just like entertaining, and I don't have any skill, but it feels good. I've never actually won a big tournament, and this is like the first time that I have, and it's just, yeah, refreshing, nice.
And before we get you that trophy and a big fake check, do you have any final words you'd like to give out there? Any shout outs to anybody who have helped you along the way or supported you?
Yeah, I'd like to give a shout out to Team Liquid, of course, all their sponsors. They allow me to do what I do. I'd like to give a huge shout out to Twitch chat, because without you guys, there would be no tournament. You guys are the most important thing in the world. My girlfriend, everyone who helped me practice. Frozen, for sure. Frozen was a huge help. He was the deranged doctor. He's the deranged doctor who put the deranged doctor in. And yeah, to my parents and my family, everyone, just, it's been great. Yeah, happy Father's Day to my dad. It's awesome. But yeah, that's about it.
Thank you, Dan, for that shout out there. And so speaking of that trophy, to present it, we have the Masters Tour product manager, Alex Charsky.
On behalf of Blizzard Entertainment, it is my honor to present to you this trophy and the title of Master Tour's champion.
Well, congratulations to Dog. He is your champion for the first ever Hearthstone Masters Tour in Las Vegas.